Hey, so I am certainly glad that we have at least come to the point where we know which assignment we're talking about, and I can help you with that. That's very frustrating when you're in an online class, and it just, we could have fixed this in class, right? But we've had to bounce back and forth. All right, so this is creating, modifying, and removing files and folders in Linux. So just briefly, the first thing that you have to understand is that on a Windows machine, you know that the hard drive is a storage place, and that's also called a volume. And you start with drive C because in the ancient of days, right, A and B are floppy drives. So a hard disk is usually labeled C. No labels like that exist in Linux, right? So they're not labeled the same way at all. So I'm going to go through it. We'll take a look at, let me get it started. We'll take a look at the things that we're actually going to type in as we go along. So we are on a Linux install here. ls is list. So there's nothing in this particular directory, and this is the home directory. So if I backed up by putting in change directory, period, that really gets me to the home. And you don't need to do this for the assignment. I'm just doing it to show you that there is where we were as student. So ls, right, that just shows the files and folders that are listed there. So I will type cd student, and now I'm back to where I was. Now, it's important to note that you can either put in a directory location or a file location or a program location in an absolute way, or you can put it in a relative way. And most of the time you're doing a relative way of describing things, meaning it depends on where you're at, right? So when I type ls, whoops, it is not going for me. Oh, there we go. It's just catching up. Server was doing something. When I type ls, it's basically saying, okay, you want to list the contents of where you are. So if I wanted to do something different, like if I want to, let's back up to the home directory and then do an ls there, right? That student shows up. So I could do an ls of I'll put the / tilde. And that little tilde, you'll note, is right here. So that's giving me the directory of my default directory, which is student. And so again, if I just do an ls, this is the response I get. If I do an ls student, right, that's the same thing as the tilde. And so this is a more absolute reference where just ls is a relative reference to where you are. So I'm going to go back to student so we can start this. I know all that's very confusing. There's tons of videos online that talk about the basics of Linux that are really good. I haven't made one because there's so many. All right, so it tells us, hey, you can check the current directory by typing ls, which I did, and then you can do an lsl, right? So it's not going to change too much for us. Oops. You can paste that in there from, oops, that apparently I did not copy that. I'll just type it, ls-l. Right, and so now it's giving us, say, there's a total of 0 files in there. So if we do an ls-a, right, and so this is going to show us everything that's the hidden stuff. And beyond that, if we really wanted to know, we could type an ls-help, and we get a whole help file on what we can use and what all these switches do for us. And that's always available. So you can always take a command and put in space -- help, and it will come up with all the things you can do with it. Now, pwd actually shows you where you're at. So pwd, that command says, okay, just tell me where I am. The reason why that's important is because you can tell by this prompt that they do in Linux that it's not very clear. So what this prompt is telling us, unlike it would tell us in Windows, is this is telling us we're logged in as students, and that this is the name of the server that we're logged into. and it's not telling us what directory we are at like it would on Windows. And so PWD is going to show us our current location. And so they want us to change directory to here. So they have created this directory structure, path to other directory. So haha, that's really cute. So we do a CD, and yes, it's proper to do, you know, a space and a forward slash. Now this is an absolute reference that they're doing. So they're saying, go ahead and change directories to this root directory. That's the forward slash. Oops, I was trying to back up there and it didn't do it. But this forward slash is the root directory, just like it is in Windows, except it's forward instead of back. And then we say path forward slash to other directory. And it doesn't exist. Well, that's not good. I messed something up here. So let me just copy it just in case I misspelled something. And paste that in there. Nope, there's no such directory. So I don't know what's going on with this, but that should have been correct there, right? There should be another directory. But we haven't gotten to the assignment yet. The next one says path to file, and it wants to just show it. So that cat is going to just catalog that, right? That's just going to show us. So I bet you that one's not there either. Yeah, no such file or directory. And then less is also a way to look at it. So if you're having this problem, I can understand that. So that wasn't part of the lab, right? So we're going to go ahead and start the lab, and this part is the part that counts. So this is a make dir and then a directory name. So we haven't left the location that we were originally in. Clear that. And so I'm going to type that, make dir or make directory, and then the example will be dir name, dir underscore name. And then they want to show us that you can do that across the board. So, I mean, several, that's what I mean. Sorry, not across the board. So I can put in dir1, dir2, and dir3. And that will create those 3 directories. Now, how we would know that is that we can actually take a look and see if they're there. So I can do an ls, which they're not telling me to do. And there's those directories that I did. All right, now they talk about the perimeter, so you should read that because later on you might need to use it. But now they're going to have us change the working directory. So we're supposed to switch to home and documents. So I will go to cd home user. Notice documents is capitalized. That's important. You don't cap it, it won't go. So in Linux, for the most part, and Unix, if it's capped, you better cap it. Where in Windows, for the most part, that's not the case. So we should see this, right? That's what it's showing us. And that's what we do see. And now we're going to move on. I'm just going to copy this one for time's sake and paste that in there. And that's going to go ahead and just list out a bunch of, right, red, blue, green, yellow, that happen to be in this colors. So if I go to the desktop, as a matter of fact, let's do this. Right, I'm going to back up because you can up arrow and have a history of what you've been typing. So that's Windows and Linux. And I'm going to do, why don't you give me a list of there, right? So if I give a list and say, hey, can you tell me what's in this directory? It shows me that there's nothing, right? What it's doing here is saying home users desktop colors. I don't got anything, right? So in this file of colors, right, this is what we're displaying. And now I'm going to go ahead, and the next one actually makes those. So they're having you make these directories by typing in make dir red space blue space green space yellow space magenta. So you got to have the spaces in there, obviously, otherwise it's not going to work. Now, just to show you, I'm going to hit ls, and there they are. See, these directories are labeled in blue. So I didn't have to make just one directory at a time. I could make multiple ones. But the assumption is because I'm typing make dir and not telling it where to make the directories, that it's going to go ahead and put it right where I am, which is in this documents folder. Right, so go ahead and check the progress here. And we got that right. Now we're going to remove some directories. So removing a directory is the rm dir and the directory name, and that's the example, right? And here's, see if I do this, watch what happens. All right, there's no such file or directory. Well, that's because of where I am. Notice I'm in documents. So if I change directories to my home directory, see, that's where I made those. Now I could actually remove that. And I could also remove all of these, and I won't type that in because it's long. Right, and so that wouldn't work. Even though these are examples, they're not actually part of the assignment. I have to switch back to where I made those, which was in the home directory, my personal home directory. So it's not named home, but it's my station. Oh, I must not have created a fork. So I don't even think that was in the list to create a directory for it. But anyway, there they are. And I did an ls again, same directory, and I got nothing, right? I deleted all of that stuff that was in there. And then they show you, hey, there's a bunch of options. And again, I can say remove rm dir -- help. And there's a bunch of help. This is what you would use. Here's your usage, right? It tells you. Let me go ahead and clear this so that it's not messing with us. All right, now, as they say, let's take a look at an example how to use the touch command. Right? So this is touch empty file. That's what it's going to do. And so what does this do? Well, the touch command can take the C option to prevent a new file from being created. Right? So I'll just pull it up. Right, here it is. Update the access and modification times for each file to the current time. So this is a very technical thing that they would do for, when you're messing with backups and don't want something to be backed up, or maybe you do. And so you touch all the files, right? That's what they call it. And so you touch them and then it flags it according to how you set this. So that's what it's doing. So there's no empty file there, but I changed directories, right? So I should be in, I'm guessing, let me go back up. See, I'm just going to cycle through this. So I listed, I want to go there. And let's go ahead and, I'm guessing, I can't remember what's down below here. So we issued that. -C, do not create a file if it doesn't exist. That's what the -C does. And then here's CP. So CP is for copying, right? So this is how it looks. Here's your first example. And these may not exist, so this may not work. So let's try it. So let's look at this command first. This is copy. So CP, but where's the file? So this is telling us an absolute reference. Go to home, users, and then you'll see this file that says source file. So that's what you're looking for. And now what are we going to do with it? Go to home, user, duplicates, and name it target file, right? And so, yeah, I don't have a source file in home user, but that's the example they're giving you. That's how it works. This is the absolute reference. So we're going to be doing that in just a minute. And then there's MV for move, right? So the move command, the move command is used to move one file to another directory. So basically the move command is taking a copy and a delete together. That's what it's doing. So it's taking and saying, take whatever file they say, move it over here, then delete this one, right? That's really the process it's going through. And they show you the example of what that is. That is move home source file to this particular target directory. And then the rm command is used to remove one or more files. That's what the rm does. So I want to remove this particular file. And then step one, we're going to change directories to users pictures. So I'm going to see if that's even there. So notice that it's home user pictures, and I am here, I'm down here on home user documents. So just to show you a little different way here, I'm going to go cd period, which moves me to user. And if I do an ls, hard to see those, but you will notice that there's pictures here that's listed. So now I can just do cd pictures, right? I could have just done this, but instead I decided to move up and then move back. All right, so it wants us to list the directory contents. So we're going to do an ls-a, and that's give me everything that's there, even the stuff that I shouldn't be able to see. And lo and behold, right there it is. It's the exact thing that I should see. These little pictures are important because if that's not happening, if you don't see the exact same thing, then something is off, and you'd have to back up and go back up. Again, the examples, that's not part of what you're being tested for. Anything that says step is what you're being tested for. So that's what I did. Okay, so I'm going to move some stuff, and this is long, so I don't want to type that. I'm going to go ahead and copy that and paste it over here. So I'm going to move .apple, .banana, .broccoli, .milk, right? I'm going to move these, and we can see that they're right here because we did an LSA. Notice there's no response. It doesn't say, you know, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 files moved. It doesn't say that. In Linux, or it came from Unix, so the default thought process is, if I didn't tell you there was an error, there isn't one, right? But if I do an ls here, like I did before, look at that, right? So I moved these, and chocolate eggs, they're still there. So let's go ahead and leave that. And again, the A, right, that's showing the hidden files. That's showing what I hid. And some people say, well, why hide it if you can just do an LSA and find out what's there? Well, it's just mainly for general user use of making sure you don't delete stuff. A file that's hidden is not going to be automatically deleted with the rest of them. You have to do something else. So it's not necessarily to make sure that nobody can ever find it. It's just to make sure that everything's okay. When you're dealing with copying and moving and deleting, I want a little extra protection. All right, so this is going to move what? Home, user, movies, Europe, pictures, right? That's what it's going to move. Whoops, it's going to be over here. So that's what it moves. So this is what we should have seen, right? That's what we should type. And it's moving it over to pictures. That's what it did. Good job, me. All right, so let's go ahead and copy that. Now we're going to change directory to pictures. And I imagine that we're going to, so let's list what's there. They don't ask us to, right? They don't ask us to. You can see European pictures here and vacation JPEG. So we're going to move from this folder images, vacation. So because this is partly an absolute and partly a relative, so what's happening is we're telling it, use the move command. What do I want to move? I want this vacation JPEG. Where do you want to move it to? You know what? I don't need to tell you that because you're going to put it right where I am. So that's the thought process there. I always tell people when you're learning this stuff brand new, it is best to just kind of, type it all when you're doing it yourself, right? When you're having to learn it yourself. So that's what we should get, right? So let's do an ls again. Whoops, sorry. I just want to see, sorry, I keep hitting that at the bottom. ls, and there's vacation, right? That was not there before. It's there now. So my check progress should be good. And we're done with step 3 of that. All right, then we're going to take it up a notch. So we need to navigate to the music folder, and that is done by typing cd and notice music is capped. So I could have copied that over, but I typed it in. I like doing an ls wherever I go so I can see what's going on. And it says what you need to do is remove that file. Well, I don't want to type that in. I can type it in, but I don't want to. So I'm going to copy that, remove best of the 90s and 80s jams classical. That's this file right here. And do an ls, and it is gone, right? Gone. Now I'm telling it, let's remove a directory. rmdir rock. I noticed the cap on that. So let's remove directory rock. And that's what I should get, which is what I got. And then it's going to check the progress. Well, again, just to show you, let's ls. And right here we have rock. And now it's not here on this result. So we'll go ahead and check progress. It's taking a minute. I always hate it when it takes a minute. You know, I'm afraid that it's going to error out on me and kill it. Then we're going to remove a non-empty directory. And let's see what rm-r will do for us if we didn't remember. So rm-help. So if we look, scroll up here, here is our recursive, remove directories and their contents recursively. So in other words, if a directory is not, well, let's show you. Oh, sorry. So let's clear so we can see what's going on here. And let me right click and paste so we can see what's going on here. And let's take the R off. Let's take the R off and see what happens. Now, I don't think they're going to give me a problem with doing this. But see, rm non-empty directory says you can't do it. You can't do that. And so let's oops, go ahead and put that -r back in. Oh, these are examples. I'm sorry. This isn't going to work anyway. But that's what that would do, is that if it's non-empty, it will delete everything. I'm so sorry. You know, it's showing me things that are examples, and I'm trying to do the example, and they don't exist. All right, so what is this grep? The grep command, this is what we're going to do. You're in your virtual machine is true. This is a real virtual machine running. We're going to type grep. We're going to see what happens. Actually, we're going to type grep and see what the heck grep does. That's what we should do. So when you're learning this stuff, you should just say, you know, what is this? Of course, the internet's here, so you don't need to, whoops. That is not what I wanted. Control C, oh no, oh no. I need to break out of that. There we go. Sorry, notice what I did? That's not gonna work for me. I was supposed to help. All right, so grep. This is grep. Grep has got a lot of stuff in here that you can do. So we get up to, this is where we are, and this is the usage and the patterns and the so on. So we're looking for a particular pattern within something. And we can do tons and tons of stuff with grep. Grep is used quite a bit. And so we are going to look for vacation, right? That's what we're going to look for. And I'm just going to copy that. And let's clear the screen. Whoops. All right. And I'll right click. I don't want to type it all in again. So we're going to look for vacation here. And this is where we're going to look. So let's take a look. All right. So it says we had a great vacation here. And it actually says it's Iceland. And then it says there's a file in here also in downloads. It says Japan. We enjoyed our vacation here. So it's finding this word vacation within some files for us. So that's what that's doing. So let's go ahead and then do the next one, which is a move, and take a look at it. Let's see what it's doing. All right, so one thing that they're not showing you is that, right, this first portion before the colon is the file name, Iceland, and is the file name, Japan, right? So this colon that's the file name. This is where I found it, right? This is the text in that file. So we're saying, okay, I can see there's two files here. There's Iceland and there's Japan. So now I'm going to move Iceland. See, it's in downloads. I'm going to move Iceland. And then I've got Japan. And we're going to put that into documents, right? So I'm grabbing two files and I'm moving them to documents. So if I wanted to, I could say ls And actually, that should be home user documents. So what I'm doing now, of course, is just looking to see, look, Iceland and Japan have been moved there. We're good to go. So we can check progress. So that is from the prompt, searching for a file. They figured it was in downloads, so that's what they did. They said, can you take a look in downloads and see if you can find this word in any file that's in that directory? It returned and said, yeah, I found Iceland and Japan, and this is what it said. And then they moved it. They moved the file. And then here's editing file. Nano is a little program. I think in one of the assignments you actually install Nano. So we're going to use Nano and then path to existing file, right? There should be a file, and this is the path to it. All right, and so here we are, new Nano 3.2, and we got some controls at the bottom, right? That's the example. Then they have you Control O and Control X. So O is write out and X is exit, meaning go ahead and save this and then exit, right? That's the O and X. Control G, where's our G down here? Get help and then exit, right? So I'm going to Control X and notice I am back where I was. So I'm back at the prompt. And so then they want us to open a file with that and then add this information to it, right? And that's information at the bottom, like this is how you do this. I would suggest going through those steps, but you'll notice that that's not tested over. I've got a 50 out of 50 and I could close out of it. But you know, you can do this, right? You can say, let's go ahead and copy this and we'll change the date on that. And then we will go ahead and copy this, which is going to let us edit that file. And no, at this point you're stopping watching because you're like, I don't need to do that. Right, and then you actually, knock, knock, who's there? Very long pause, Java. Ha, 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 that's a big joke these days. Then you Control O, and then you get out of it, and it's gonna save that. That's basically what's happening. I hope that helps. There is a ton of stuff out there on Linux. There really is, and I need to add those as helps within my Canvas stuff so that people can just directly go to it. But linux.org and lots of videos like basics of Linux commands. And so that'll really help you wrap your head around what's happening in Linux, because right, they're just chucking you in there and saying, hey, this is good enough for you to do, right? And it's like, wow, I could really use some more information on that. So I can definitely make a video on it. I don't mind doing any of that kind of stuff, right? Because it's teaching. I love doing that. In any case, that's that assignment. Let me know what other troubles you might have, and I'll respond as quick as I can. Talk to you later. Have a good one.